Welcome back. For more details, we're joined by Dr. Ayman Ghonem, the economic expert. Good afternoon, Mr. Ghonem.
Good afternoon, madam.
How are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
In your own assessment, how does the government plan to improve the investment climate in Egypt in light of what's happening?
Well, actually, promoting the local and foreign investment in Egypt, this is a priority for the government, and this has been a priority since the election of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to the presidency of the Republic in 2014. Egypt announced law number 72 for the year 2017 with the aim of promoting local and foreign investment. And such law provides a lot of capabilities for the government to promote foreign and local direct investment, including the ability of the government to extend golden license, including also the ability of the government to grant tax holidays of up to 50% of the investment cost of the project for the projects that are established in the Zone A. And such Zone A has to be determined by a special decree of the Prime Minister. While in Zone B, which includes the rest of the Republic, the tax holiday may be extended up to 30% of the investment cost of the project. That's because actually Egypt aspires at achieving a real GDP growth rate of around 7% per annum. That's of course on the long run. Why 7%? Because we're trying to double the real size of the economy every 10 years, and then through the mechanisms of redistribution of wealth, increasing the minimum salary and social protection expenditure, the government then can try to distribute fairly the fruits of such growth and development on all the sectors of the society. But of course, to reach the 7% real GDP growth rate, we need an investment rate of around 25 to 30% of the GDP. And of course, since we are a country of low to middle income, we're not able to produce national saving rates to cover such investment rate. And that's why we're looking especially for the foreign direct investment. Such quest of foreign direct investment, actually, as I told you, has been the primary target and priority of the government since 2014. And you're now referring to the increasing geopolitical tensions and risks in the Middle East, which of course may play to reduce the inflows of the investment from the other regions of the world to the Middle East. However, such turmoil actually shows that Egypt is the center of stability and peace and security in the Middle East, because if we see most of the countries now around Egypt are suffering one way or another from tensions and political instability and conflicts and wars, except Egypt. So in a sense, this present circumstances show that Egypt is, as I said, the anchor of stability and safety in the Middle East. So this can also play for the benefit of Egypt, that it's a safe haven for the investment, it's a safe haven for the economy of the Middle East.
Right. Why does Banha Investment Zone focus on food industries in specific?
Well, actually, the policy of the government is to spread the investment and industrial zones throughout Egypt. And that's because, according to the strategy of the Egyptian industry, the national strategy of the Egyptian industry, was trying to increase the share of the manufacturing industries to around 20% of the GDP by 2030. Each industrial zone tries to exploit the opportunities and tries to make use of the availability of the raw material near to it. And of course, talking about the Delta region in general, of course, it's an industrial area, it's an agricultural area, and there is an abundance, of course, of different crops, and that's why this industrial zone is focusing on the food material. And the point here is that we're now trying to export the processed goods, not only in their raw form, but we're trying to add value to such processed goods in order to increase the price and increase, at the end of the day, the inflows of the foreign currency to Egypt.
How does focusing over the agricultural industry be able to boost the agricultural production and the whole economic development as well?
Well, actually, we've seen the industrial zones that were established during the last 10 years. They are geared toward exploiting the availability of the agricultural crops near them. And this not only in the Delta economic zones, as we've seen, but we can also look at the Suez Canal economic zone, whose one of the priorities is to expand in the food processing industries, and this will exploit the crops and the harvests of the North Sinai Development Project. This project covers 620,000 acres, spanning from North Sinai for 400,000 acres, and the zone between the Delta and the Suez Canal, between the Damietta branch of the Nile and Suez Canal, with an area of 220,000 acres. So it's a general policy now, as I told you, that we have to export the crops in the form of processed goods or the form of processed products in order to increase the value added and increase the inflows of the foreign currency to the country.
Right. How does the expansion of investment zones add to the industrial production or the investment support the regional economic zone in general?
Well, investment zones, they allow a lot of synergies, and they provide a lot of incentives for the investors. First of all, as I said at the beginning of the interview, that the law number 72 of the year 2017 allows a tax holiday of up to 50% of the investment cost of the project. It also allowed the government to return a part of the cost of infrastructure and part of the cost of the land to the serious investors. That's on one hand. On the other hand, these areas allow for synergies, because when you have a lot of factories near to each other and many of them work in the same or in near activities, then you can establish a lot of synergies, and you can establish a lot of cooperation between them, and this at the end of the day will add to the efficiency of the production.
Right. Localizing industries were one of the most important priorities that were recommended by the cabinet and by the government, according to the statements of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli. Explain to us how could we be able to localize the industry, and how is it going to probably form as an exit out of this crisis?
Well, the term localizing the industry, it refers to two distinct features. The first one is to localize the industry itself, to start industries that were not there before. That's one thing. And second, and most importantly, is localizing the inputs of the industry. Because the Egyptian industry had been for long an assembling industry. We used to import the components and assemble them into finished products, like the automotive industries, like the different form of manufacturing industries. So now we're trying to manufacture such components inside the country. And the good news here is that we don't have to have raw materials to undertake such quest. Because, for example, I always give this example that if you have a mobile phone, it can be sold in the market for, let's say, £10,000. But the cost of the raw material is no more than 20 to 30 pounds. Such raw materials were processed throughout thousands of steps to form components and then form semi-finished goods, and then to assemble such semi-finished goods in the final product. Here the point that we always say is that the localizing of the inputs of the industries mean that we have to increase the number of steps of value addition in the country.
Right. How can these investment zones contribute to more job opportunities and be able to enhance the labor force?
Well, of course, localizing and the enhancement of the industrial output in the country will lead to a so-called sustainable employment, because in the past decade we've seen a reduction in the unemployment rate from around 12.7%, I think, in 2016 to presently around 6.5%, and the main driver of such reduction was the construction and real estate sector, because of the huge infrastructural projects that were established during the term of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Egypt has seen a huge construction process similar to the process that it undertook at the beginning of the 19th century during the reign of Muhammad Ali, the builder of the modern Egypt. But of course, we should not expect such big output or such big increase in the construction industry to stay for long, because for some time we needed such huge establishment and projects because of the increase in the population and because our infrastructure by 2010 were really inefficient. That's why now the government is trying to shift the employment to the manufacturing industries in order to achieve sustainable employment of the population and in order to increase the labor force and increase the job opportunities even for the rising population.
What exactly is the expected impact on local market prices and availability of goods as a result of that?
Well, this question is very important because Egypt has been trying to control inflation through using the tools of monetary policy, like manipulating interest rates and money supply. And this we are doing similar to the whole world. The whole world, all the central banks throughout the world, they are trying to control the price levels by using the monetary policy and interest rates, and we were successful in doing this. Actually, inflation declined from around 39% in September 2023 to presently around 12%, or even 11.5% lately. But the long-term answer to the inflation problem is not only the use of monetary policy and interest rates. The long-term answer is to increase the output of goods and services in the market and to increase the real income of the population so they can afford to buy the goods and services that they need, especially that we still import a big sum of our necessities from abroad, and will continue to do so even with the agricultural expansion, because at the end of the day, the agricultural expansion is limited by the availability of arable land and the availability of water. And that's why we're going to the manufacturing industries, first of all, to increase the output in the market, and so increase the supply of goods and services on one hand, and on the other hand, to increase the income of the population, and also to increase the exports, and so increase the availability of foreign currency at manageable exchange rates or at affordable exchange rates in order to import the necessities of the people at affordable prices.
How might these initiatives strengthen Egypt's position in as a regional industrial hub currently?
Well, actually, as I told you, the national strategy of the Egyptian manufacturing industry, it aspires at increasing the industry share to around 20% of the GDP by 2030. And in such a way, Egypt has undertaken a lot of effort to position itself on the global industrial map. We have the Suez Canal Economic Zone, which includes four different industrial zones and 6 different ports, from Adabiya, Sukna, South Suez Bay, to El Tor in southern Sinai, and then east and west Port Said, and then Al Arish in northern Sinai, and it covers 4 industrial economic zones. There are a lot of success stories in this Suez Canal Economic Zone, including, of course, TIDA Economic Zone, established by China, including the Indian investments. Also, we have Russian investments. We have investments from all over the world in this economic zone, and such economic zone is expected to be the flagship of investment in the Middle East in the coming decade, especially, as we said before, that the present turmoil in the Middle East shows clearly that Egypt is the center or the anchor of security and stability in the Middle East.
Right. At this point, I would like to thank you so much, Mr. Ayman Ghonem, the economic expert. Thank you so much for your valuable input to